Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead. Okay, we'll go ahead. We have a public hearing. Apologize, it's not the top of the agenda, but it's actually for the blight grant that we are in process of. And Kent, if you don't
Are
mind. Yeah, we're trying ever so diligently to be in process of. So if you don't mind, Kent, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, I'm running behind here, so. Do you have an extra pen?
Here we go.
Let me pass this sign sheet around. Before I get started here, do we know anything yet on what we talked about?
I haven't got a response back from the, from Senator.
Okay. Okay, really urgent.
He's on vacation or what, but
He is on vacation?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
He usually gets back pretty quick with me, so.
yeah, okay. This is a public hearing for the city's blight clearance grant, where we're gonna tear down the 6 or 7 buildings. You all aware of that?
Yeah.
Are you aware we've run into a pretty big snag here?
This just come about the end of last week, so okay.
No.
You might share with the room just succinctly what SHPO is that's for.
In order to be able to apply for this grant with Okra, we have to get letters from 7 different agencies. One of them is SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office at DNR. Well, I sent the ER in, and they sent back that they're not gonna let us tear these buildings down because they're too historic. I've been in all of them but one, and yeah. So there's only one thing we can do, is try to get some political help to get it changed. So that's about where we stand with that.
So post-World War II even is now historic.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say about that.
They wouldn't hear anything regarding the state of the buildings and the water that's been there for a few years and some of the bottom?
No,
Holes in the road.
no.
Are they gonna help us refurbish them or something?
Nope. So, while I'm talking about
Man,
this.
it wasn't a terrible
would you
question. I
take one
appreciate you
and
saying it,
pass
'cause
it
I
on
was
down?
I knew you would get it if I didn't.
No, they're not gonna do that. They wanna know if you've tried to market these buildings and all kinds of crazy
Paid
stuff.
somebody to take them.
And
Which really, we can answer everything that they've asked.
But-
Because we've had engineering reports done on buildings.
yes, but that's not gonna do us any good, because I turned it in as a no adverse effect. The only way they're gonna be happy is if it's an adverse effect. And if it is, we gotta do a memorandum of agreement on somehow trying to save these buildings. And then it has to go to Washington DC. We don't have time. This grant goes in June 25th. So that's why we need to go the route, the political route. It's just, you're not the only one community that I have in this round. I've got a building that was in another community that was built in 1974, and it's historic. It's an old Speedway gas station.
That's depressing, because I was born in '73, so now.
Yeah.
You're historic.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask a question? What buildings are you talking about? What buildings are you talking about? The old Hart building?
One next door
Yes, the
here,
Hart Building's one.
Hart building?
115 here and 309, it's all the same building.
I've got a question. Are they saying all of them are
Yes.
historic?
Yes, every one of them.
If I remember correctly, though, the police station and they didn't have a problem with these 2 buildings, though, correct?
Yeah, they did.
The
Was it those
police,
two as well?
the police department building, the 309 West Pearl, they had no problem with it coming down, but it's connected to
Which
the,
I didn't tell them that for a particular reason.
right, but this building, the old city building, they were wanting to investigate its historical importance.
Okay, gotcha.
Because they have no record of that building in the historical preservation.
For good reason.
I didn't take a picture of this facade here because I consider that the entrance over there. And it's all one building, so, but they caught it anyway, so. So we gotta get across this somehow, and it's gotta take some pressure.
So who can mobilize it? Can we mobilize some advocacy? Can we get some citizens phone calling, sending mail, or what do you have in mind?
Now they listen, it's gonna,
High roller,
yeah.
Oh, okay,
like a senator or something,
okay.
State senator or US senator?
state senator.
All of the above, any of the above?
State,
I suppose that's true. Yeah.
State.
state,
Mr. Mayor, could you reach out to Jeff Ross?
technically,
Yeah, we have, yeah.
Is he behind it?
Well, I haven't got an answer back from him yet, that's why I'm wondering if he's on vacation.
Okay.
could, technically they could go to SHPO and tell them to change it. I've seen it happen before. This is not anything new, it's new. I haven't run into this in probably 10 years now,
Well,
but
the cynical side of me says you'll probably deal with this for a period of time until the agency, till finally something goes over center to the point where it's changed, and then it'll all disappear in a few,
That's
a
exactly
number of
right,
years.
that's why we're
And
doing
we're
this
just caught
now.
in it right now.
Because it's a different individual that's
Yeah.
calling somebody shots now than what it was previous.
Well, you're talking about, pursuing use or owners. Well, you consider the fact that two of these buildings have been through multiple owners, and the Hart building has been through multiple tax sales, or been through the tax sale process, and no, it's a hot potato. Nobody wants it.
Yeah.
Is it allowed to resubmit and restructure, remove some of those buildings? Or is it still gonna pull up a red
I
flag?
don't want to
with
give
SHPO?
in like that.
Okay.
No.
I don't wanna miss the opportunity was what I was
No,
saying.
I know, but there's no saving any particular one or not one, it's all of them.
Yeah.
There's nothing historic about the art building.
Do you have images, pictures taken of?
Oh, and I sent them
Can
to.
you share some with?
I sent it
Because I
to
mean, I
them.
don't think we should put all our bets with just one Politico. I mean, we
No,
reach up. I got my party right. We can reach up that way. We can guys reach out here. Other ways.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Before I sent the ERM, me and Monty went to each building, I took pictures inside and out, and SHPO has them. And those buildings are nasty inside. You think that stopped them? No.
Well, the roof's caving in on two of them.
And I told them one was too unsafe to go in, well, use a drone. No, I'm not gonna tell the town they gotta use a drone to take pictures inside a building. That's,
Well,
there used to be a different director of DHPA there. He made a lot, he was a geologist. He made a lot of good changes because he didn't agree with the way SHPO was, but he made a lot of changes for the good. He passed away a few years ago, and now this new lady that's there has done away with all of his changes back to the way that it originally was.
How about a lieutenant governor? Would that help?
Probably not, because we're applying to her program. Okra is her program.
Yeah.
Normally, yeah, but I don't, yeah,
Okay.
I don't want,
A little bit.
yeah, I think we're too close there.
Okay.
Good question, though.
Well, if
So
we-
I don't know, we're just kind of in limbo right now. This grant goes in June the 25th. So we've got
June?
1 month to get,
25th of June.
we've got 1 month here to get
Do you-
something fixed.
Do you have a contact, or can you share a phone number or the name of a key decision maker at SHPO that we could share with our political?
Sure, I'll get it to you tomorrow. Her name is Beth McCord. She is the SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Officer. And that's who the letter came from.
Think a former state representative would potentially help?
No, I think it gotta be somebody in office right now.
Okay.
Have you reached out to, you gotta reach out to JD also?
Yeah, wouldn't hurt.
I think so.
Our county commissioners maybe as well.
Is he the?
Provide some leverage.
Rep.
Okay.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, I think both of them.
Uh,
I mean, I don't know, but you know him, I don't,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I think both of them, if both of them briefed, should be on board.
Yeah.
They will both be at the fairgrounds Saturday at 9 a.m. for a legislative update. So if you want to talk to them in person, that'd be a good chance.
There
Saturday.
you go.
Thank you, Ben.
Excellent.
At the fairgrounds.
Yeah, yeah.
Pleasure.
At the fairgrounds here?
Yeah,
Randolph County.
yeah, Randolph County, yeah.
Right, yeah, south of Winchester.
Yeah.
Okay. Can somebody be there to?
Yes.
Yep.
You need to talk to them and let them know what we're up against here. But if they wanna call me, I can give them the details of what they need to do. And that's just call over there to the director of DNR, the very top person, and have them get it changed.
Sounds good.
So,
Well, I mean, at this point, if that's the direction that's taken, it's gonna, the whole program, you know, the whole program you're applying to comes to a grinding halt, because at that point, everything's historic.
Yeah, and what are you ever gonna
It
take
seems
down?
that way.
You might as well scrap the whole
I had a
program.
long conversation with the girl that actually did the section 106 and told her what your philosophy is on historic buildings. Because I heard you say, I know you don't like tearing down historic buildings if at all possible.
Not one bit.
But we're not talking those kind of buildings here.
No.
Well, but I think that's an important part of the conversation with the senator and representative, is that when you point out, when you make sure that they're briefed on what we're doing with Vision Corner,
Yep.
what we're doing with numerous buildings right now.
Yes.
The amount of
Yep.
work that's going on right now.
Yep,
Uh,
exactly.
And what we're doing to revitalize what we've done right next door to this property. That's
Yeah.
all, you know, it's not like we're just sitting here going, we need to knock these buildings down, and the next ones will be right on the list. No, these are the ones that need to go to make way for.
And mention the railroad tower.
And safety.
No, I was gonna bring, I wasn't done yet.
Oh,
I didn't realize what you went through with the railroad
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
building until Dave
Yes.
Keyser told me.
yes.
Yeah. And I'm still
That's
living
another-
that pain.
You might mention that to your
Yeah, I
reps
think-
also,
Yeah, I think all
what
that,
you went through there.
And see, that's why I was hesitant to play the lieutenant governor card, because I played that already on that deal.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to charge us $18,000 for a full site plan. And this enters into, now keep in mind, this coming from an entity that was prepared to do nothing and let the tower come down. We try to save it, they want a full site plan proving how we're gonna restore it. And I called the lieutenant governor, I said, this just doesn't feel right, this is not right. And then all of a sudden, Steve, because I was unavailable, Steve handles the call between SHPO and Ryan Hamlet, with IHCDA. And all of a sudden, they're claiming they never sent a full site plan requirement, which he has the email that says otherwise. But they're all of a sudden, they changed their tune. And so, yeah, so anyway, it might have paid dividends there, reaching out to her, but again, I was hesitant to play that card, so I'm glad that we can do other routes. And
Who'd you talk to, Shippo?
I'd have to go back and look at my email. It was a conference, it was a Zoom
5
call
or
with
6 of them.
5 or 6 people. And they were all from different offices, but they all were all within the historical preservation.
DHPA was called, but.
yeah, but that just gives you a little insight into the logic we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which is flawed, unfortunately.
We need a finding of no adverse effect is what we need, not an adverse effect, because that requires saving some part of any of the buildings or whatever. It's a negotiation,
I would say safety.
and we don't have time to do it
No adverse effect on what?
on these buildings.
The community, the surrounding area?
Historical nature
On these
of
buildings.
the
Okay.
On the environmental it's called a section 106 environmental review, is what SHPO does. They come back, because I put my finding in there as no adverse effect, they come back and say, we respectfully disagree with you. We think it's an adverse effect. And if it stays that, we won't go into Okra next month. There's no way we can get it all done. Go to get Washington's approval, which they will approve it, because they told me they lost too many lawsuits, Washington, that they're not gonna fight any community when it comes to tearing down historic
But it's
buildings.
gonna, but if we go into that, then
But it still has to go there.
Still gotta
so-
go there, and we're gonna be delayed
Yeah,
by
I don't know
potentially
if they will,
years.
Okra will even have another round of black clearance or not.
Is it possible to do both? Push it to DC like tomorrow and go these other routes? Maybe we get
No, there's a lot
lucky?
of work to do in between. No, because we'll have to negotiate with SHPO on what they want, saving some part of each building, or I've seen so many different things.
And once you make that move to go that way, then you're basically agreeing with their adverse effect finding, and so then now this avenue's out the window.
Yeah, and I think everybody here knows that there's not gonna be an adverse effect to any of those buildings.
As far as with their removal, yeah.
Public health hazard.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's what I was saying.
Improve morale and decrease public health problems?
Yeah, and I'm gonna record some comments earlier. What I handed out to you is a survey that Donna put on Facebook here. We need each one of you to get on Facebook and make some positive comments of why these buildings need to come down, and I think we only had 6 surveys returned. So if you all in this room could get on there and because it will really help with Okra. And I don't know,
Is it possible to email to Monty or Chad and email out to us? Because I know not everybody up here has Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea on Facebook where this would even be to
It's
locate to
on,
take the
it's
survey.
on the website, the city website.
Okay.
Is it? Is that something we can have the community also do?
oh yeah, yeah, that's what she
Yeah,
was
We
hoping.
need,
And
we need to
Yeah.
publish it somehow.
if you
Get it
read
to
some of the
people.
comments on there, I don't understand.
Did you email this out a while ago?
Yeah.
Thought we did.
I'll go, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because I thought.
I don't recall.
The questions are looking familiar, that's why I was curious.
Some people don't agree and some,
these, but.
That's what I thought.
but out of 6, I mean, that's not many.
No.
So, but it would help if you got on there and talked about how they need to come down. And when I start recording comments earlier, if y'all could talk about the safety issues, and I don't know if there's homeless people, drug makers and dealers that are in any of these buildings, if you would comment on that, as being another reason why they need to come down, when I get to that, so. We're applying for $556,000. The Okra portion is 500, local match is 56,000. The proposal went in April 29th. This is the second public hearing, we already had one, so. Yeah. This is for the full application, we have to have a public hearing for each one, the proposal and the full application. Those are due June 25th, and we will know on August the 12th if we're funded or not. Letters of support, we have already received 7 letters of support. Citizen survey on Facebook, 6 responses, all favorable. Must be, my community's mixed up here, because I thought she said they weren't. Are those positive comments on there?
Yeah, it looks like they're all yes. I don't see
Okay.
In
one.
terms of tearing them down.
There's 6 of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
the removal,
Seven.
Not one is saying leave them.
But we need more responses on that, like I told you. The next one all highlighted in red here is the environmental review. We've already been talking about that, so it's just imperative that we get some help here. And Dave's not here, is he? The scope of work basically is to tear the buildings down. And Monty, do you know if the tanks have been removed on 339?
Yeah, we just had a phase 1 done on that, I sent it to Donna.
Okay, okay.
yeah, those, they should be, because we did that when it was still in my family,
A little while ago.
Long time ago.
in the 80s, and
Because that actually came up in a council meeting a few years back, and somebody, I think you even mentioned at that time,
Yeah.
that was done.
And before I start here, there. This is the city's
May I
copy.
ask a question? Well, I'll be honest, gentlemen, what are the
Same lot.
plans for that lot after the building is down? What future plans for that?
I'll leave those.
Which one?
Okay.
What's the
Still
plans
has
for
to
the
sign.
which one?
The Hart building?
Oh, the Hart
After they
building?
get that down,
Steve,
what
do
are
you
the-
have some
Donna has to
answers
sign
on that?
We do have a couple of different people that are interested in the lot. They have plans for potentially developing it. It's kind of our belief that it would kind of evolve into like a downtown slash backstay parking lot facility that would be improved and maintained. Some additional off-street parking. Theoretically, if everybody in the backstay lofts had 2 cars, if it was husband and wife living there, that's 100 cars. And the central parking facility across the street is not going to house 100 cars, so there will be a need for additional parking. So we've had conversations, we don't have anything in writing or anything like that, but there's been some conversations with some people that would be interested in developing.
Putting up a building, I mean, I'm not trying to be, like putting up another building or another business, or just for a while?
It would basically be paving, sidewalks,
Oh, okay.
potentially, some things to control cars coming in and coming out.
Okay.
And basically be a little bit of a secure parking area.
Okay.
There is new construction prints already drawn up for the corner up here of Oak and Columbia on the northeast corner.
Oh, okay.
That would be a rotisserie chicken restaurant, run by a local restaurant owner who's already very successful. Like I said, she's already done the prints, but she wants to have both patio seating and, but also drive-through. She can't do the drive-through with the building sitting there.
There by that old building?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be on the corner,
Yeah.
so once that's torn down, that would give her
That's
the
gonna allow for-
Was that where the Bell Block building was or something? There was a
It was
historic
the New
building.
Times building, is what it was called,
Yeah.
or the Times building,
Good
yeah.
times, yeah.
And it's long since burned.
Yeah.
It's grass lot.
See, SHPO don't even know stuff like that.
No, I'm sure, they probably got that whole block filled out in their prints.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the Times building were what you were talking about, that would be something to look at as far as a historic building.
Exactly, that'd be a different story,
That was
yeah.
a loss, that and the Grand and so forth.
Yep.
The buildings that we've lost are the ones that had some historic value to
Yeah,
them.
big time.
Couldn't be saved.
Yeah,
I'd be
the one
fighting
on the
tooth and
corner
nail
was
for the
really
Times.
historic. I mean,
Yeah.
and it can be from architecture to who owned it to what went on
Yeah,
there.
but-
I'm gonna open it up for comments on the blight clearance project, and like we talked about earlier, I need comments from as many as we can get.
Tim, you've been in it, haven't you?
And please state your name when I come to you.
you want our titles or just? Chad Spence, Mayor of Union City. I can't stress enough how important this initiative is for the community. For example, the Hart Building on Oak Street. My wife actually was walking by it last summer and could actually physically smell the mold and mildew on the inside of the building. The contaminations on the inside of the building are pretty much off the charts, and we've had this comment from other folks. And that's not even to mention the time we've had to mark it off because of falling bricks, because the brick facade is actually separated from the structure itself. So it's literally, the phrase dilapidated beyond repair, that's where this fits. Now, I've heard the old saying, anything can be fixed with the right amount of money. Well, nobody in their right mind, including the city, is going to put forth $1 million or more to save a building that doesn't even have any intended use. And it would far exceed the value of anything within this community. It's just not safe. And it's not good business sense, it's not practical sense in order for it to stand and stay. And we are a community that absolutely positively prides itself on preservation. We've got a huge project right now undergoing with the Kerr building. It's a historic building in town that we have already raised over $365,000 to restore. We have saved our rail tower from demolition with no help from any outside entity such as a federal entity coming in to save it for us. We did that on our own through fundraising efforts and got a matching grant through patronicity. But it was through us rolling up our sleeves to save it, because we wanted to save it and we saw value in it, and we saw value in the Kerr building. And we're redoing several other buildings downtown inside too to restore them and put businesses in them. So we actually are the face of preservation, but in that same vein, it doesn't make sense to allow dilapidated structures that are not safe, that are not even in appearance worthy of saving, to save them just because it checks off someone's box on a form that says, do not disturb this because it can disturb the contents of your city or the look of your city. That doesn't make sense. And so I can't stress enough how important this initiative is, and for Okra and SHPO and all the state entities that are involved in this process to give serious consideration to this for Union City, Indiana, and allow us to be able to do this for the safety of our citizens, for the well-being of our citizens, and for the aesthetics of our downtown, and for the preservation, if you will, of our remaining structures. Because these structures that we're discussing also, in a couple instances, actually adversely affect the adjoining structures they're sitting next to. And so I implore you to consider this strongly. Thank you.
The biggest reason SHPO's complaining about this is because the downtown commercial historic district is listed on the National Register. And they consider every building within that historic district to be historic.
So if you've got gangrene from the knee down, no, seriously, if you've got gangrene from the knee down, do you save the knee and kill the body?
Yeah.
Or do you cut it off and save the soul and the body and the mind?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Oh, I understand that, but
I think we should give Chad Beth's number and let him give her a call.
okay, who's next? Okay.
I can go right after him too.
I'll speak up. My name's Tim Heiss. I'd like to speak specifically about the Hart Building because I have some experience with that building. My grandfather actually owned it early on from its building, and the interesting that the person that built the building never was able to pay the bill, and my grandfather actually ended up with ownership of the building as receipt for materials. The building was used for several things, but as a grocery store, was, as most people remember it, in apartments. But it was also nearly destroyed in a fire in the late 1960s and rebuilt, but never completely finished. It was never brought back to its usefulness after that completely. And but it was outmoded as a usable facility at a period of time, but since my grandfather's passing and my family's sale of that building, the mayor, Chad, spoke about the condition of the front of the building, but I'll speak to the condition of the rear, in that the rear wall has bowed out and moved out to the point where the roof is separated from the brick structure, and there's really, without complete deconstruction and reconstruction, there would be no possible way to restore that to a safe standard, which basically you would be nearly tearing down a building and rebuilding it with be marginal what I guess you use the same bricks, so is it still the same building? The roof structure is completely gone, completely destroyed, would have to be replaced, and the second floors by water damage are destroyed at this point, and really doesn't really offer any aesthetics or anything significant, since the building was built in the late 40s as a kind of a utility type structure, no real decorative art to it or anything. So it's just not a feasible building to save. And just looking at the property records and seeing that it's been through a couple of tax sales and owners have acquired it and quickly just let it go through the tax sale process, and it will continue to do this, and will continue to be a worsening problem in terms of the risk to the community. It's at the point where it's barely secure. Parts of it aren't secure. Windows are falling apart. It's to the point where soon the front structure of the building will be falling into the sidewalk, and it won't be safe to traverse the sidewalk in front of it. And I don't see how it's practical for anyone to ever put the money forth that it would take to restore that building, if it could even be done. I'm not convinced that it can be done at this point. And as to the Columbia Street property, the Columbia Street property was condemned in the late 90s. Monty, do you remember about when you say late 90s?
This one here, 115?
Yeah, 115 was actually condemned in the late 90s, and no real change has been made structurally to that since. And is another property that is just really holding up progress in the rest of it. We save everything we can save. We've lost to fire some beautiful buildings, and we are doing everything we can to revitalize our downtown, and these buildings are not something that can be feasibly used.
I think all the buildings, from me being in them, all of them are in that shape.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
We struggle with conditions on the buildings that we're saving. These, and some of those are dire. These buildings are far beyond some of the ones that we are restoring some buildings at this point in time that have some significant structural damage, and we're forging ahead with that. But
I've got a couple things I'll say.
okay.
Yep. Hello, this is Nathan Conklin. I'm a Union City Councilman. Looking at these buildings, honestly, I don't remember anything that's ever been in them in my lifetime. A few apartments that were never really comfortable living, nor up to code, in my opinion. There's safety hazards as is, and actually they're holding our community back from continuing to forge ahead, as we've renovated multiple different buildings, run into problems, but we're trying to save them as much as possible. We've got a lot of different fun projects happening where we're improving our community, and unfortunately these are holding up. Let's say it's a bulletin board, and we've got new projects being stapled all over that bulletin board, And these projects are holding up paper that's 75 years old, and it's falling apart, it's tattered, and there's no way for it to be laminated and fixed. These buildings are those pieces of paper that you need to remove and start new. Our community wants to continue to grow and move forward and make it a new, vibrant place, whether we rehab or, if not possible, unfortunately, we turn and ask for help to get rid of them so we can at least utilize the space in a new shape or form. I know a lot of people have spoken about the other problems with it, but nobody's actually said that I've seen with my own eyes are the vermin. Whether it's cats living in them, it's raccoons. I've not personally seen rats, but I would imagine if there's raccoons and cats, there's probably rats and mice living in them. Ultimately, we need to utilize a program like this to help us move forward with the future of our community.
Well, I can guarantee you there's rats in them, I saw them.
I'll say something. Yes, I'm Tito Farias. I'm city councilman at large in Union City. I'm not sure I can add too much to what my colleagues have already said, but basically, my thought is that really we cannot preserve everything. This town is looking forward to the future. We have many initiatives underway to improve the downtown. New businesses moving in, renovations happening, homes are being renovated around the city. We're preserving our railroad tower. There's just a lot of things, and there's like a new feeling in the community of, people are uplifted and are excited about, the prospects for growth coming back to Union City. And these buildings, I mean, sure, they had their heyday, but honestly, they're an eyesore, and that's a limitation for people coming to town to our events. It's a limitation for people frequenting the new businesses that are establishing themselves downtown. They are useless. Can't even use them for nonprofits or charity events. They're unusable. And they're a health hazard, as my colleagues have explained. The spaces that will be created by eliminating these buildings will create new opportunities. There are already projects developed for the actual use and development of a new building to replace one that is coming down, and the removing the others will create opportunities or parking spaces for the businesses are going to be, they already have plans, are already working to reestablish themselves here. They're going to need parking space. I mean, we have one or a couple businesses that pretty much fill up downtown at certain parts of the week. But so we need these spaces for the future. So, we ask for your support to help us to move forward. We just need to move forward, preserve what we can preserve, and look ahead to a brighter future. Thank you very much.
One thing I'd like to add, this is Tim Heiss, 4th District Council member again. And one thing that might not be entirely clear without visiting Union City, but historic preservation isn't something that we're just now doing or that we're new at. This has been, we have several projects that have been done. We have a former department store that was a centerpiece of the city that was left closed and starting to get quite dilapidated, that a group of citizens with their own money and did work very, very hard starting in, I believe, the late 70s, early 80s, and preserved, and to this day is still preserved and in use. And we have a railroad depot that had that was also a preservation project that would have probably been torn down just like all the other railroad properties, just like the tower that we're saving now would be torn down if not for action of the citizens of this city. So we've been serious for quite a number of decades about trying to preserve our heritage, and so we feel when we make a decision that something's not feasible, we feel like we have some grounds to stand on, that we've been here before. And I for one was a skeptic of some of that preservation at various times years ago, and I was sold, and so we have had a good plan for a long time, and we'd like to continue that with some help. we've had a lot of citizens put forth a lot of effort and a lot of money on their own without any assistance.
But they're not putting forth any for these structures.
No. And there's absolutely no, and has not been any historic effort or any effort by people to save these structures because they knew they were too far gone.
Do you know if the police department has gotten any or many calls on these buildings from whatever?
Yeah.
People in them or?
Yeah, they've, the Hart Building, the police used to run kids out of there all the time.
Yeah.
And there were people squatting in there, and yeah, it was a serious issue.
Probably not so much in recent time because it is so bad.
Yeah.
It is so unsafe that the people that would normally go in buildings won't even go in there.
Yeah.
Something has to happen to that building regardless.
Can't, you've got a couple,
Comment to it.
Yeah.
couple citizens in the back.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian, go first.
Oh, so I'm Brian Frankie, city attorney and attorney in the city. And my office is just a block away from the Hart Building. About 7 years ago or so, I was appointed to be receiver for all of the buildings when the current owner of the Hart Building was being foreclosed on by the bank. And so as part of my duties as receiver, I had to secure, I had to step into the shoes of the landlord, collect all the rents of the people living in the various rentals, and then I had to secure the buildings that were not being lived in. So the Hart Building, my secretary and myself went. There was 2 apartments being rented at the time. One fellow stayed for a couple of months and left. Another one, I think maybe we had to evict because they were squatting. But the second floor was, it was a complete loss. And this was 7 years ago. The apartments to the south side were the worst because that's where the holes in the ceilings were. And the way that it wasn't being, there was no repair work being done. There had been a tarp set to catch the rain as it came in, and it was supposed to fill into a large trash can that at some point the owner was dumping, but then after, it had been years since he had dumped, and there was vegetation growing inside the building. I mean, it's like it's going back to nature on the inside. So, yeah, I don't know that we have kids going in anymore, but we did, and there were people break. We had to, secure it all. There could very easily be kids go inside. I see kids walking by all the time. And the other thing I would say is that right now that section of Oak Street is, I mean, it's really on the rise. I mean, it really is on the rise. I mean, with all the work that's going on with it, and that's going to be a huge eyesore if it's allowed to remain in the midst of all this progress that's going on from the backstay all the way to the
Core building.
yes, sure, yeah. So that's mine.
Thank you, man.
I'm Rick Reichert, a lifelong resident of Union City. The Hart Building has served its purpose. It's not an asset anymore, it's a danger. Heaven forbid if those walls would collapse, it could damage other buildings that are historical in the area. And heaven forbid if it ever caught fire, it could wipe out several historic buildings in that area, plus the one that they're revamping to make use of the apartments at backstay. The building needs to come down. Thank you.
My name is Brandon Elmore. I'm a city council member in Union City here. I personally have an undergraduate degree in history, and I say that because I've been involved with numerous social history projects. I've been involved with historical preservation projects, and I make it a point when I travel to visit historical sites as well. And in doing so, I've been in numerous buildings, and I see our community as an historical place. There are numerous buildings, numerous facilities around the city that are important, and we do want to save, and we are making efforts to do so. However, these buildings in particular that we are targeting, we are focusing on, are blight on the facade of our city, and there's no two ways about it. I mean, these are potentially a checkbox on a form because they are dated before a certain date, but there's no historic value anymore in these individual properties. We need them removed. We need them. They're an impediment for us to move forward as a community. We have projects that are that they're going to backfill these. These are not going to be empty lots once removed, and I think that's important to make known as well. And I would challenge anybody who says that these are not or that these are historic buildings to come and see for yourself. Set foot in them, and I think your idea of what should and should not be saved would be changed. So that's all I have to say on that matter.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Is there anything else to cover, Ken?
Yeah, we didn't quite get done talking about that the SRF stuff. But if you think you have enough information, I know Steve wasn't there. This is kind of an evolving thing because it just came out Friday with SRF. So, I don't know, you may
Well, yeah, money, so that's not specific to our hearing, obviously. So-
No, the hearing is,
Yeah.
hearing
Mon-
is,
Monty and I we'll convene and then, we'll follow up with you and we'll
okay.
then bring council to the loop, so.
Nope, I'm done. Sign the sheet, where did it get to? Down there.
Go ahead.
That's all I have for the,
No, Ken, thank you so much, sincerely.
Thank you very much.
I will close the public hearing at 6:48. And at this time, would everyone please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day and for this time together. We just thank you for continuing to pour out your blessings upon this community, for the opportunities that we have in front of us, and for all the things that you blessed us with. And let us not ever lose sight of all that we have to be thankful for. Help us to not fall in love either too much with our stuff or ourselves, because none of this and none of us would be possible without you. So to you be all the glory and the thanks and praise. And pray for your wisdom that you say you will bountifully give us if we ask you for it. So we pray for that in this meeting. And as we leave these walls here today and go out into our communities, help us to be examples of your word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Jan, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore,
Present.
Bob Wade,
Here.
David Gottman,
Present.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Peter Frias.
Here.
All right, consent agenda. I trust that everyone's had an opportunity to review. And if no questions, I see your mouth open.
I will move that we accept the consent
Okay.
agenda as presented.
We have a first and we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda approved. Department reports. I want to call out Nate Conklin and his wife Christine, and also Bob Lay, showing up on Community Cleanup Day.
And don't forget Luca.
And Luca.
He picked up trash.
If he picked up trash, that says something, because how old's Luca? 2?
He'll be 2 in July.
2 in July. If a 2-year-old could show, not even a 2-year-old could show up and pick up trash, that means anybody's capable. So, fortunately, not the turnout that was hoped for. But at the same time, I know, and I'll be honest, I hope you don't mind this in terms of transparency, Nate, but Nate sent me a text when I was in Alabama, and was very discouraged, the turnout, and he wondered, why do we do this? Because we get a lot of people stating what they want, and then we give them the opportunity to go be a part of what they want, and they don't go after what they say they want. And it can be discouraging and frustrating. And I said, when he said, I don't know why we do this to that effect. And I said, well, because it's still the right thing to do. Even if one person shows up, God bless that one person for standing up and doing the right thing. And so it's because we love our community and we care about it. And so anything, I'll never be able to stress enough over these 4 years I'm in office that every little thing that anybody can do for their property or for their neighbor or for their community makes a difference. It matters. It all matters. Quite frankly, it all matters or none of it matters, if you follow what I'm saying. So I appreciate you guys. Kudos. Vision Corner, hopefully you've noticed it's been painted. If not, please see me after the meeting. And that's just the beginning. I can't stress enough, that's just the beginning. And if anybody's curious of what that's about, please see the banner that Steve did a great job of getting put together and put on the side of the building to give a glimpse, if you will, of what's to come. And so that's off and running. The covered bridge, an update that I haven't shared with council. One of the bad things about Larry Anspaugh is he can be so stubborn and so driven. One of the great things about Larry Anspaugh is he can be so stubborn and so driven. And so, because of Community Christmas being blessed as it was last year in its gate receipt, he wants Community Christmas to foot the entire bill for the covered bridge. So the amount that you guys pledged last year as the city council for the bridge has not been needed. And so that's remained in the city coffers. So that is entirely a community Christmas project at the park, which is the covered bridge. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And keep in mind the cost escalated on that project. quite a bit, yeah.
And you can thank the state for that too, because the DNR didn't give us a blessing in time.
If we'd have been able to do that.
Much cheaper.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, gosh, this just keeps coming back to me. Anyway, thanks for digging up that little wound.
Well, I kind of.
No, you're good. You're good.
I kind of had something to do with that, as far as
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So anyway, but still good news nonetheless. And then I will move along here because the other thing was the rail tower, but we've got that in the old business. So department heads who don't have anything, bless you, that you want to address at the moment.
There's some glitches at the wastewater plant that Rob's working through. Brad is up to his eyeballs in work, and we're developing a plan for that. And Kobe and I really didn't have anything to discuss, so I think the departments are running like a well-oiled machine.
Spinning rapidly right now too. Jan, anything that you,
I mentioned that the concrete's done at the
Pool?
No, well, it is.
It is done at the pool, but
the
I
fire
do have a
department.
new concrete ramp. Monty was doing donuts on it today.
They're back in. The fire trucks are able to traverse it, and it's far better than it ever was before. And we should not have to worry about that in any time where we have to worry about it. I won't have to worry about it.
So is that the same concrete guy that's gonna pour over here by Memorial Park?
No.
Oh, okay.
We had a local guy do this, and KBL out of Portland got the bid
Yeah.
for the sidewalks and the paving for the Memorial Tribute Park.
and by the way, shame on me, public kudos to also Steve and the fire department. They painted the fence behind the new barns, utility barns business.
And rebuilt the lower
Yes,
fence.
yes.
So it
So
all
great
looked
job
good.
by the fire department in doing
Did
that.
a nice job. It looks
a lot
really
better.
good.
Yep.
That whole thing looks dramatically better than what it
And
did.
it's hopefully turning revenue, hopefully, so. Jan, do you have anything?
No.
Council members, Let's start the back this time. Let's start with Brandon.
I have nothing to share today.
No problem. Bob?
I just had a question that Steve brought up about the Memorial Park. That was supposed to be a dedication. Is that supposed to be this
Saturday, the 29th at 2
this
p.m.
weekend? But evidently the sidewalks will not.
Yeah, basically, we had these conversations early on. They decided that Memorial Day weekend was the day we were going to dedicate it. I would have rather it been like July 4th.
Yeah.
Or Labor Day,
That's what I was
because we would
thinking,
have had dry
too.
weather to get the work done, and
Yeah.
basically all the contractors are behind schedule, and the weather's held us up, and there's just nothing we can do about it, so.
We can't talk them out of it.
We will make a souse, or a soap purse out of souse here. We're cleaning it up the rest of the week, and it'll be looking tall.
Can we dedicate and then rededicate later once the bricks are in?
Nothing says we can't.
Okay.
The sidewalks and the paving should be done, and the planter boxes, all the stones in for the planters, and, I mean, we're ready to go. It's just a matter of coordinating everybody getting here, so, it'll probably be done before the end of June, but it's just a timing issue.
Arts Festival, late, what is that?
Heritage
Arts
Days.
Festival.
Yeah, Heritage Day is one of those.
Yeah, we
Do a
can
little something
absolutely
then.
do something else.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of people putting a lot of money in bricks, so
Yep.
everybody's going to want to see that. So.
Absolutely. That's a good point.
And one last thing, I had a citizen ask me about mowing situation behind Royal Drive along the drainage ditch that was put in to alleviate the flooding, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
It's not being mowed on, would be the east side. And there's like 4 houses there, the property owners are having to take care of that. I'm assuming it's city mowing.
I would have bet money that the city mowed that, but I'll check with Brad first thing in the morning. I'll let you know.
They're having to, there's like 4 houses there having to just keep it cut down so, you know, because
Weeds, mosquitoes.
weeds, mosquitoes,
Right. Vermin.
anything else, the way it looks, you know. So,
So it's on the Plum Street side of Royal? You said that-
yes, yeah, it would be, well, no, it would be, yeah, I guess it would be, you know where the cul-de-sac is back there, and then there's like 3 houses, and then the little street that dead ends right there.
Yeah.
That section is,
I will
See
get
it
you
on
an
the
answer
print.
tomorrow morning.
thank you. That's all I got.
All right. Nick?
A couple things. One, the pool opens this weekend. Jen was supposed to tell us how much passes are this year. Did you figure that out?
Well, yeah, I know how much passes are.
Okay.
Unless, the passes are, single is $50 and for family, which is 2 to 4 people, is $85.
And what's day entry?
The daily entry normally is $3 and for adults and $2 for kids, but they're gonna run at least through the end of June. Adults will be $2 and kids will be $1.
So there's some specials coming up. We've got new swim blocks. Are those done out there? Cool, new swim blocks. And swim team, is it meeting it this year?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Swim team, is it meeting again? Like, are you doing that again this year?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
last year COVID wasn't.
First outdoor practice is June the 1st.
Cool. We got all
After
the
Memorial
parks
Day.
ready to be living.
think the blocks are installed.
Blocks are
They're,
installed.
Well,
well,
the concrete is ready,
They're-
the blocks are still in the building.
the blocks, yeah, the
They're
blocks
ready
are
to be
removable,
put in.
so they're,
They'll
it's
be
all
set up
done,
when the
it's just a
event's
matter
happen. Cool.
of placing them.
Other thing is, there's a lot of places hiring if you're looking for a job. I know Eco is hiring for the regular facility and the 2 other sub-facilities nearby. Bowser's Barn is hiring, Pizza King is hiring, and about anybody that is open in today's world is hiring. If you are looking for a job, feel free to reach out and I will get you contact numbers to everybody if you need some assistance, so.
Yeah, good news, the governor put a kibosh on the COVID, so people gonna have to get back into the swing of things if they're not already.
And because I know somebody's bound to ask, Oak Street is in process. There is some tie-up. I'm working on getting the feedback communication because the builder had to give in the information to the engineering company. The engineering company has to stake it because they're the official survey group. And then once that's done, we're supposed to be breaking ground. So I apologize for the delay, but we will stay on top of that. That's all I got.
Cool. Tim?
I don't have anything else.
Tito?
Yeah, I had a couple people reach out to me today. One person that expressed dismay because of the poor condition of mowing at Harder Park, and since this is the last week of school, the school is taking kids out to the park.
Yep.
And so they were concerned about that. Someone also today told me that there's, at the cemetery, there's too much grass, and so when there's mowing of the too much grass, then you get lumps on the tombstones, and grass on the tombstone, excess grass on the tombstones. Last week, or maybe the week before, there was also a post on Facebook and a lot of commentary about the cemetery, and people were complaining that they'd mowed but left sort of weeds right next to the tombstones, and then apparently the service provider saw the comments and then mobilized right away, even in the rain, to take those weeds down. Last year, I know we've spoken to this about this a number of times. Last year, this was an issue as well about some tombstones. Some people said that they might be moved, if I remember correctly, or there are different things, you know, about how the cemetery is being kept up. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I've heard enough, and I think there's a broad base of support in Union City. I could be wrong, correct me if you feel differently. I think there's a broad base of support in Union City for a change in the way we source our mowing services in the park and cemetery. So I've received suggestions, even last year, from many sources that we should source that service in Union City. We have the capacity, either by contracting private citizens to do it or to actually hire them. I don't know, however administratively that could be done, if temporarily, or however we could organize that and have it to do for ourselves. I think the feeling is that if they're citizens of Union City, people from this town, like they've got family members there, they'll take better care of it, is the idea.
I think that was the only company that bid it this year. That was one of our problems.
Yeah, it was.
Is that correct?
Correct. And I see where you're coming from, and I appreciate sharing that, because it is an issue. And I agree with you, if it's in-house or if it's local citizens, it is gonna be a better job. The one thing we're up against right now, we're also looking at hiring some part-time help to keep up with the abandoned properties or properties that are not kept up, keeping them mowed. And we're seeking part-time help right now, and we're gonna probably be able to gauge what we might be able to do with your concept over the next 3 days, because we just had our meeting and we're using Thursday morning as our time to reconvene and say, okay, what names do we have in terms of part-time help to mow? Because we want local folks that are looking for maybe retiree or somebody that doesn't need to work full-time, they're looking for an odd job, that will mow some of these properties.
I have a name, can I send them to you?
Yep, absolutely. And so if something can come out of that, and maybe it's something we can reconvene and discuss, you know, if we think that's an avenue we need to travel. But right now, we need to at least identify 3 people that can mow the properties in the community.
Just for clarification, that bid for the mowing for the city, there's one that goes out for the park and there's one that goes out for the cemetery.
Oh, so they're different.
And anybody can submit a bid for that price or for that job. It's generally bid out early in the spring, and again, we only received one. So if there are people in Union City that would like a shot at doing that, we would welcome all bidders for that process.
Absolutely.
There would be nobody, I mean, I would rather have somebody from Union City getting paid to do the work. But the reality is, there's nobody that bid on the job.
So is it for a contract with like 5 or 6 or however many that have all of that machinery?
The company doing it now has, it's a single company, and they have multiple zero-turn mowers, and they, you know, it's a for-profit business. They do it as quickly as possible because that's how they make money. So,
but there is no stipulation in terms of what they need to bring to the table. Their job is get it mowed and get it trimmed. That is part of the contract, is not? And
It
And
is
so,
at the
if
same
they wanna show up with a push mower, God bless you, you can do it.
Well, but you really, you got, what it comes down to is there's basically two approaches to take. Either someone acting as a contractor, no matter what their structure is, with
Several.
take care of, liability concerns and so forth. So basically needs to be a legitimate business. Or it's going to be an in-house proposition where the city owns equipment and hires people to work under the city umbrella to do it, as we've done in the past. Those are basically our two choices, as I see it.
Problem is those mowers are expensive.
And that's,
It was more economical to go this route than have it contracted out.
This year, Bob Gentry actually did a cost-benefit analysis, taking into account estimated hours to do the work, cost of new equipment, cost of fuel, cost of, everything we could identify. And it basically comes out as a wash. And, I mean, it doesn't cost us any more or any less to do it ourselves. And we don't have the employee headache, we don't have, there's reasons why it was appropriate to bid it.
and the one thing that really, because there's not really a number to put on it that's not in that cost assessment, is the oversight and the management side of that, as far as what oversight it takes, which we don't necessarily, we have a low oversight burden with the contractor as opposed to in-house.
Steve, did I understand you correctly? Did you just say that it's about the same cost?
When you calculate everything that's involved in mowing that, putting 60-inch, 72-inch zero-turn mowers out there, of which we would have to maintenance and maintain and probably purchase new equipment, when you calculate all those costs, labor cost, fuel cost, I mean, it's wash, rinse, and repeat. You never stop doing that. Yeah. It's literally a 5 or 6 day a week job. That's how the company is doing it now. They mow on Saturday, they mow on Sunday, they mow whenever they can get it done. So there was the numbers that Bob produced through the Board of Works. There was really no cost savings for the city to take on the added expense of the equipment and the fuel cost and all that. There was no savings, no benefit in us picking up the added task that we were going to be putting on our plates.
So it is more expensive. I mean, you'd have to think about the time and depreciation and everything, but it is more expensive, like big time, to have our own staff and our own equipment and everything. So what you're saying is there is a savings to outsourcing from a company like this.
And the numbers are close. I mean, it could go either way, but like Tim said, the figure that's not identifiable is how much time is Brad or Dennis or myself or Monty or whoever's got to manage that process, got to be out there managing the process. That's not identifiable. Is it cost effective to take the utility superintendent off of jobs, putting water lines in, working on broken water lines, taking care of meters, taking care of street problems? Is it cost effective to take him off of those jobs to go manage the park mowing? Those are questions that you can't really put a dollar figure on.
So you wouldn't hire a manager to do that?
Well, if we do that, we're definitely losing money.
Well, then that's
Then you're
that
definitely
cost
losing money
assessment
when
didn't
you hire a
include that.
full-time
That was
employee to manage that process.
Yeah.
So, at that point, you start really juggling dollars. So, under what we proposed, no, we wouldn't have been hiring somebody all the time.
Do they have a mowing schedule? Because it just seems like to me, it always needs mowed. And I realize it's very expensive to have them do it. But it's also, I was out there yesterday and it just looked horrible.
Yeah.
Hasn't been mowed for at least 2 weeks, I would say. And I know we had some wet periods, which they can mow around the wet spots and still get the rest of the park done. And then also, do they take care of the weeds?
We're supposed
spraying?
not the spraying. I don't think
Spraying,
spraying's part of the contract,
are we still doing that? I know we were doing that, I think,
I think they do the trimming. They do the trimming in the cemetery.
They just trim the
They
cemetery.
trim the cemetery,
Yeah,
but they
Monday.
don't trim the park.
Oh, there's not in the contract to trim the park?
The company does not trim the park.
They
just
don't trim
trim
in the park,
The
yeah.
tombstones in the cemetery.
Yeah.
That the weeds are all along the walk path and around the trees, they're growing up,
Yeah.
you know, around the trees, it's just.
I would
doesn't
be,
good.
sorry.
Sorry, I'm done.
Oh, I would be willing to bet that citizens would be okay spending a little more to have a better quality of service upkeep on our cemetery especially, and definitely the park as well. I just
No, I don't disagree with that. It just matters, it becomes a matter of getting the entity to step up, because when we throw out the bidding process, we don't have it capped. We don't say, do we? We don't have, okay, this is what we offer, take it or leave it. It's just, who wants to mow the park and cemetery, step up. And they can bid whatever they want. So if somebody wanted to bid twice as much as what the current company has bid, there's nothing that precludes us from entertaining that bid if they would put forth a better product.
Yeah.
But no one has done that.
And it's mowed, or it's paid for by time they mow. So
Right.
it's actually benefiting, there's not a limitation.
Right.
It's actually benefiting the company to do it
Do the-
more
Oh,
often.
yeah.
Often,
Yeah.
right. But
Yeah,
it doesn't
because they
seem
get
to be
paid-
that way.
Paid per
At least
mowing,
not this spring.
Right.
And then when they do mow, and I think Tito brought it up too, you got the big piles of grass
Yeah.
turning brown, you know, all down the, you know, the rows and everything.
on tombstones.
I asked, and I actually got wind of this when I was on vacation, so I did reach out to Monty to get with Myers, and we'll follow up with him again this week as well. To step up the, you know, the maintenance of it, you know, the appearance, what's done, because we want it to look like it's someone's home,
Right.
so.
Especially leading up to this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Yes.
a 3-day weekend
Yep.
where we want to
Yep.
show off our community.
Yeah.
And I don't want it, I wouldn't want it looking like it does right
Right.
as
No,
of this
because we're gonna have
morning.
alumni in town and everybody, yeah.
I wasn't gonna do it, I'm going to.
Well,
So Christina asked me, my wife, asked me to go out to the park with my son Saturday morning before we did community cleanup. And we went, and there was trash everywhere and grass everywhere. And honestly, I was a lot frustrated by the time we left. And she goes, all right, now after community cleanup, let's go to Winchester. I had to bite my cheek because I didn't want to say anything. Got to the park, and she goes, well, what's your thoughts? I said, well, I don't want to share my thoughts because Winchester's Park has better care, trash pickup, trash can location, walkways, and apparatus play sets to play on. We brag we have a gorgeous park. We got to find some grants or something because that thing is the same as when I was a kid. Nothing's changed.
Well,
I have,
you know about the park trail, so we are seeking to widen the trail and repave the whole thing. We've already applied for that. In fact, we hope to hear this coming month regarding that. And we've also discussed the need to update our play sets.
There's no mulch.
Right.
Some of the stuff's old and it's still fun to play on. But when a kid falls 6-8 feet, they've got spongy stuff that you bounce off of.
Right, right.
And
that's been
I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I can't argue with her when she says she's taking our kid to Winchester now. I tried to fight it the last time. I said, we got a park right here. What are you talking about?
Right.
So she showed me and I went, I'm eating my words. I'm sorry. So, hi, sweetie. This is me making a stand.
one thing I gotta say, their park is a fraction of the size of ours. So
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to take care of.
well,
Little piece of
but,
land.
and you bring
as
up
opposed
the,
to 100 acres or whatever.
and this is,
we
and
have.
this is something that is another thing of, okay, where we put our money, as far as, you know, the apparatus needs replaced and so forth. We need, one of our discussions regularly at Board of Works has been the ground cover, cushion ground cover under the, various, playground equipment pieces. And the cost of that, the type of material we need to use is a major budget buster, and that's something that we need to look at what we can do otherwise, because we are not in the position in the conventional sense with what we have money-wise to attack that at this point. We don't have the Goodrich Foundation, and that's one of the major differences. And I'm not making excuses, I'm pointing out
That's a good point.
what we need to approach to solve our problem, because it needs to be solved, it needs to be resolved. but. but
Like
that's
that
one of the
little
main-
play area by the swimming pool, there's a little play area there. That's like, I don't know what they call that, like little piece of wood and stuff. That's really cushiony.
Yeah, but it still doesn't really meet the
Mulch,
standard
something like
that we need to meet.
Technically, it's ground up tires, it's
Yeah.
rubber.
And,
Go take it against the wind.
Yeah.
That's
No.
the.
I know.
It's expensive,
Roundup tires.
It's really nice though.
but,
Well, we'll, first things first, we'll adjust the mowing,
Yeah.
see what we get back by Thursday. And we'll get that addressed first, and then, we've addressed the trail, and then we will definitely address the playground equipment, and the trash cans should be an easy fix. So, anything else, Tito?
Oh, that's all I have.
Okay. Monty?
The streetscape progressing here, it's put in the electrical over the weekend, so that's complete, so they'll be able to finish out the rest of the landscaping on there, and fire department's watering the trees, and we really appreciate their efforts in that. They're almost complete with the east side of Oak Street, the sidewalks on that, or the south side of Oak Street and the sidewalks. And they're starting to do the demo on the north side. They've been really good to work with. DC Construction has just been a great company to work with. They're helping us out with getting some drainage that we put under the concrete. And you know, just pretty much doing that for us, with us supplying the materials. So really enjoy working with the company.
That's awesome.
That's about all I have.
Yeah, no problem, appreciate it. Ryan, do you want us to just go your part under the old business?
That's fine.
Okay, and there's one other thing I had to add. It's good to see the guy that no one sees behind the camera functioning again. Mr. Brian Merrill, it's good to have you back among the living.
Could be vertical again.
Yeah, holy smokes, you had quite a battle, and just thankful to have you back.
Thank you.
So I know it's going to be a trek getting back to feeling like yourself again, but it will happen.
We'll get there.
Yep, absolutely. All right, no presenters, so old business, code enforcement ordinance update from Ryan. Ryan, if you want to go ahead and share it, you
Okay.
emailed the list.
Well, okay, so as far as the code enforcement ordinance update, I'm meeting with Nathan on Thursday at 3 to go through everything once more, and I think that we'll be able to present at the
Next council meeting?
Yeah.
Cool.
I just had some questions I was going through, the notes made, and I was trying to read your minds, and I couldn't do that, so. I can do a lot of stuff, but I can't do that.
Yeah, be prepared. I may be emailing you guys. I may be emailing you guys after Thursday's meeting if we need clarification, so.
Okay, so the house condemnations, I emailed the list and then I passed it out, and I'm gonna be updating that. I'm not gonna use any names since it's ongoing litigation. Almost all of these are in court right now. The number 1, 2, and 3, I should have a hearing date on those later this week, and I will email that to all of you. And then we had some issues on, when it says alias summons on 7, 8, and 9. Alias summons, that means I was having trouble getting them served. I have an address, and they were served by certified mail. It was refused. Now they're being served by a sheriff of that county, out of county. I had to pay an extra fee for that, but that's the only way left to us. And then the only other one I was going to point out was we do have an evidentiary hearing set for the 319 North State Line, June 23rd at 9 a.m. And I'm still working with Gavin Teeter about that. And we're preparing, he's got new pictures and everything like that. So I think that well, and then number 4, I'm having trouble finding them, finding the owners. So what I will probably have to do is publish in the newspaper notice to them, and that will serve as notice to these people. I don't think these folks have lived there for a long time, because I do know that they were divorced in 2005. So I don't know. So that's my update on what's in the courts right now.
I have a question for you, Ryan.
Yes.
Do I need to stand up to state my name? Okay, my name's Donna Tedrow, and I live at 631 West Pearl Street. I also have some information for Steve I'd like to share. I live between two properties that is not being taken care of. First, the property which I'm mainly concerned about is 627. This is what I've looked at for 7 years. 7 years. And I have a whole bunch of pictures of this piece of property. And my question was to Ryan, is 6271
Yes.
that you are having issues with?
That's number 2 on the list.
Yeah, so I will have a date, these folks have been served, I will have a court date later this week. So I can communicate that to you.
You're welcome to have these.
Okay. I would like for you to show up to court if you could, because you would be a great witness.
Also, the lady that lives, if you would look at this picture right here, this is Marla Kane. She actually has an almost identical home. She wants to sell this home for $40,000. She can't do it because
Because
of
of the
what's
other.
sitting right beside it.
Exactly.
If they want to see that lovely home. But I guarantee she'd be there too.
Okay.
I mean, we've had it, it's got mold, it's got mildew. They've literally, people that's lived in it literally took sledgehammers to the basement and pulled out boulders to make a pond in the front yard.
After the meeting, if you'd like to give me your phone number, I
I
can
will.
call you and,
I will.
yeah.
And for ordinances, I have mowed this property. I also have mowed the property that sits on the west of me, which happens to be 635. I've mowed that for 5 years. Nobody's paid me a dime. One lady lived in there. It was a buy here, pay here house. She had to move out because she was getting $800 heating bills. She couldn't do it with a single family. I'm not mowing it this year. I'm also not mowing the one next to me. I am, though, mowing John Brookshire because he's of elderly, poor health, which lives on High in Pearl. So we all do our little part in the community, and I wish that this monstrosity that's beside both of me, I mean, it's not one side, it's both sides.
635 is the other one.
Yes, and it's a beautiful historical home, but the grass happens to be this tall. Down the side, in the back, and the reason why it's not that tall in the front is because it's covered with trees and shade. So it might not be looked at. But what I can't understand is that when they mowed the open property where the cabinet factory used to be, this property sits right there, they see it every time.
Yeah, that's not us.
Yeah, but we don't mow it.
I actually mow the railroad
Yeah.
part behind this property and my property, so I'm doing a whole lot of mowing for 56. Push mowing, not riding, push mowing. So, would you like these, Steve?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Okay, just the
And that's all I
company
have
that
to
owns 635 is out of South Carolina.
Figures.
Okay.
Put it on the city mowing
get-
list, send them a bill.
Yeah, and get Jamie down there for any other structural things.
I think Jamie's already cited them.
Okay.
I'll double check that.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
They just put Tucker in there on 635, and I did tell him that the mowing is outrageous, and he said that he's reported it to the new homeowners, and there are several properties which have that problem. We may have some more Tucker signs in Union City that might have that same problem, because whoever this new owner is, he lives out of state, he buys these homes sight unseen,
Yes,
and
he
then this
Happens
poor
all the
house,
time.
they want 59,000 for. Good luck.
Yeah. We'll have something to say about that.
And then the two that are listed here, I I believe I need to be applying for the tax deed on those. So.
Which ones?
Which ones?
Yeah, the 914 West Oak and 228 West Oak. Yeah, that's in the tax sale process.
Okay.
Yeah.
And once we potentially get it from the tax sale, we still have to wait 12 months, correct? Or is it the end of that and we'll be able to take
You'll have
over?
a deed, you'll have a tax deed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So those could potentially be looking at our auction process? I don't know which ones they are.
Where's 914 West Oak?
On the agenda.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was looking at the list you said, sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Okay, I see.
So-
Yes.
May we have a couple houses that we could do an auction with here by the end of the summer?
Steve has been inside 914, but down by,
Is that changing the plan of it not being auctionable? Is that a,
That was the one that was.
914, that's a complete demolish.
It's-
But 228 is a possibility, you think? Have you seen 228?
228 Oak,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that property.
228 Oak.
It's
We already tore that
close to
one down.
town.
We already tore that one
It's
down.
gone.
It's gone.
228?
228 was right behind the liquor store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was
That's
one.
120.
Yeah.
That was one something.
That's
uh,
120.
I think this is the,
228's
the big building that we're trying to get
Front
through the
part.
demolition.
it's sitting there by the Elks. Yeah.
Okay.
But we still don't have the ownership to put it even in that grant to tear it down.
Correct.
Okay. But 914 is bad, yeah. It's-
914 is not salvageable.
All right, while we're doing it, I'm gonna throw two out to you, Prinky. I live at 329 and North Plum, so it would be 309 right there on the alley, and then there's a double right next to it. The grass is 30 inches tall, turning to seed, and neither house has been lived in, and I've been at my house, December will be 2 years. I don't know what's going on.
309.
I'm at 329, and then Terry Bradburn lives right next to me. It's right on the other side of the alley, those two houses. I know that one double, the guy tried to sell it to a gentleman that we would all know and respect, and tried to charge a large amount, and he actually didn't own it. It was listed at tax sale, and he never paid it. Said it was paid. That's a double, has new windows, new doors.
Let's talk about that on Thursday.
Yeah, I'll get the addresses by then.
Yeah, that's the next tax sale, I think,
Yeah.
next month.
I was gonna say, that double went in October. It's like, how many times does it have to go?
Okay.
So,
Anything else, Ryan?
No, that's it.
Good work, appreciate it.
anybody else in the community have problems, feel free to come to your next council meeting.
On to brighter things, ribbon cutting, June 12th, I can say that. Once again, as a reminder, is there anything you want to speak to it, other than the fact that it's a big celebration of all the
Yeah,
downtown?
June 12th will be Red Ribbon Day in Union City. It's the second Saturday market day, so there'll be extra hustle and bustle going on downtown. So we need everybody's support, council. Please try to make every effort to come because we want you part of the photographic evidence of what we're doing downtown. We will be doing ribbon cuttings with Randolph County United for 12 new businesses in our downtown corridor.
What time?
I don't have the agenda for that yet, but we're going to start at 9 a.m. and we're allowing 20 minutes at each of the new businesses. So it'll be a perpetual thing. We're going to start at the yoga studio and basically walk up Columbia Street and then back down Columbia Street. Once we get to the photography studio though, we're going to get in our cars and we have to drive to number 12 because that'll be a community-supported agriculture event at the corner of Hickory and Walnut. So, and I don't have signs up for that yet, but it's coming, it's a done deal. So, the signs are ordered. So, please come support that. We want everybody in the picture. You know, I can't stress enough, this is absolutely fun. I love doing what we're doing. I think it's amazing. If you look around, we're really the only community that's having growth and development going on in our downtown corridor. I mean, other communities have, don't get me wrong, but we're doing a lot. And I just shared with Chad this afternoon that I even had last week, 2 more businesses wanting to come into town, and they're really kind of cool, unbelievable ideas and concepts. So they're not ready to be talked about, but it's kind of cool what people are coming up with. So
That's the idea, is create that demand.
yep.
And make it a place that people are wanting to live. Appreciate you sharing that tremendously. And the rail tower move, I touched on that earlier. We are waiting final information from Dave Keyser to submit to SHPO to get their absolute blessing.
Is it still realistic to be the 19th of June?
Yes.
Well, now let me phrase it to Steve. Is it still realistic with the guy that's doing the groundwork to be done by June 19th?
He has the ability to put that together pretty quickly. The issue is, and I'm meeting with the architect on Wednesday morning, the issue is we don't physically have the plan. So the quicker I can get the plan from the architect, the quicker he can prepare to do the footer and foundation work. Now, realistically, I think we probably should let the concrete get good and hard before we go setting that building on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it doesn't set immediately on it to begin with.
But that's the loophole. It doesn't really set on the foundation for a while yet. So
It's above it.
I think there is an outside chance, but the longer it takes to get the print, the less likely the 19th is. So
That's Father's Day weekend, and I've got other plans that are potential.
Monty
You
has,
were wanting it, but now the truth
I'm
comes
not
out.
moving, and I'm not leaving until Saturday afternoon because of this. But if this gets changed,
Monty's navigated with every alphabet agency in the state to get it moved. All the light poles, the power lines,
Yeah.
everything's going to be moved. NDOT, everything's going to be moved. It's just a matter of getting the prints so we can get the work done. So.
Last one, 2021-07, which is an ordinance amending Union City Municipal Code, Title 34. This is the, regarding the funds, adding the ARP Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund, language that has been necessitated by the ARP funds coming out from DC. Again, second reading. Are there any questions regarding? Nothing has changed since the first reading. If not, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2021-07 by title only.
I'll second the motion.
We have a first and we have a second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Nathan Compton.
Yes.
Jim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Freed.
Yes.
Now, on to new business. You want to address this too, or you want me to? You want some next item on the agenda? It's the revolving loans and the.
I just want to keep this kind of ball in the air. So I don't have any update based on what I kind of approached you guys with from the last meeting, because we had some sickness and I didn't meet with the people in the process that I thought I would by today. But I am meeting with them on Wednesday. So basically, for a little bit more clarification, again, we have a building owner. He's got lots of going on. He's developing our downtown. He would be potentially a candidate for a revolving loan that I think would work in this instance. It would enable us to, or it would enable him to hire a contractor, get some work done, renovate a building, restore a downtown building, and ultimately put a new business in that facility. So, again, I'm just pitching ideas, so you guys have to kind of take the ball and run with it if you guys are interested, or just tell me you're not interested, and then I'll quit talking about it.
Jan, I got a question for you. If we hypothetically went down this route, road, path, journey, whatever you want to call it, and we wanted to do $100,000 to $150,000 in a revolving loan fund, where would we do that and not hurt anything? If is it even feasible, possible, allowed under your hat?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's allowed.
Okay.
I just don't know, I've never done it before, so I have to look into how. Is there money there? Yeah. there will be money there to do it. You can look at your fund report, and there should be, there's money in, would it be edit funds money? I think there's edit funds, there's 150 in there.
Baker Tilly could set that up for
That
us.
we haven't appropriated, there's money in edit funds.
Is it just a matter of creating a fund and then placing funds into the fund and then dispersing the funds after an applicant is approved?
And dictating the guidelines for which those funds are dispersed.
Sure, yeah.
And-
And who would, I guess, service the loan? I mean, if somebody doesn't pay, I mean, what are we doing then to collect the funds?
They would require you to have a revolving loan board.
Yeah.
So whoever you all would name to be on that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where, as a council, do we have the appetite for this? Do we think it's in the best interest of our community?
And I just want to touch
businesses?
one thing out, because Nate goes big or goes home. I'm not asking for $150,000 to be set aside. I'm just asking for the council's pliableness to, enter into conversations
I think it's a good idea.
with productive members of our community that want to see growth and prosperity for everybody.
In terms of a skeleton thought of what I had for this would be, a $50,000 fund, limited to like a $5,000 loan, a term of 3 years, 1% interest, something like that. So you're not throwing a large sum of money at somebody. I think there's banks for that. Steve, you talked about it before that these are smaller loans that these people are in a lot of cases are looking to get, and banks aren't looking at them.
Right, and I think that's very, very, very important. But this particular instance would probably be, they would be looking at something around 30, and the reason for that is he doesn't want to go to the bank because of what he's already got stirring around for our downtown. So that's the issue. So
yeah, I know you've talked about two separate ones. I know the one was a much smaller one. I think for some point of sale equipment.
Point of sale equipment, just general equipment, things that they need to keep their business moving.
Yep.
Get it up, give them over a hump. Tim tossed out the repair of a truck that keeps them in business and keeps their doors open. Things like that, I think, are going to be huge and very good for our business partners.
Yeah, I'm looking at like a $5,000 loan over 3 years at 1% interest. That's $141 a month. I mean, it's not much. I mean, but it's to get a business over the hump. I mean,
I don't think we need to limit it to $5,000.
Well,
And that's why I was thinking the $100,000.
Let me throw something out with that then. Do we look at it as a kind of a two-pronged, I don't know, you may not have the answer to this, Steve, but what kind of security can we expect to get on a larger $30,000 loan? And the reason I ask is, okay, so you have a loan category where you have for building, for real estate improvements, so forth, and then smaller amounts like in the 5,000 neighborhood for something that's a piece of equipment, a business that has a situation where they have to have a large expensive piece of office equipment that has to be there to function, and they're not able to function without it, but it's a significant investment, and this could be useful for that. Where you put a smaller limit on it, and then a larger limit that's more of a secured with a real, with a lien.
I just navigated one of these with the county, with Economic Development, Randolph County United. Used the right terminology. I just navigated one with them, and their collateral for that process was the building. So I would have no reason to believe that would not be perfectly acceptable in this specific instance.
I like that idea, like the two-prong approach to security.
Yeah, that's why I say that
the different thresholds of loanability.
The real estate, of the building as collateral, you have a real piece, real asset there, as opposed to the smaller amount things that you don't necessarily want their giant copier that they bought, but it's a smaller amount, so it's those smaller amount loans might be a little riskier in terms of loss, but the amounts are small.
Right.
but they're just as important to that
And
business.
just as important, yeah, and like I say, the back to the same thing is that you go to the bank and tell them you want to borrow a small amount of money, and they say, well, just put it on a credit card. Well, okay, but find a low-interest credit card that has a reasonable rate and so forth, and that you didn't tie up a bunch of your credit with by doing that. So I think a two-pronged approach on this could be very useful.
Monty had a good point too, that the ARP funds would qualify for this. We already have 500,000 earmarked for the housing development, but we do have an additional, what, 220, whatever it is, that part of that, a portion of that could be earmarked for this.
But we would have to use it before 2024.
It would have, yeah, it would have a life, yeah, it would have to be.
Well, theoretically though, and this is where we come back to, you know, hey, maybe we don't commit $100,000, maybe we commit it by project, and we have these property owners and business people coming in and requesting something. And you know, I don't know what this looks like. I just think that there's ways that this body can help our businesses, especially the downtown merchants. You know, I don't think it's an end-all for a manufacturing facility or something like that.
Yeah.
But downtown merchants have been seriously handcuffed, and ours seem to be very resilient, and I would like to help them get over the hump and get there.
I guess.
Well, I as a retail merchant, I could see this as being a very good tool to use.
Yeah. Do you want Monty to approach Baker Tilly with this and see what they can?
I
You know, I think you're the only one that
Yeah.
hasn't shared. Are you good with this?
Yes.
All right, consensus?
I'm going to put a consensus that we move forward to get Baker Tilly to draw something up.
Okay.
Yeah, you make us nervous when you're that quiet, Tito.
It's like no lo contenderé, right? Not content.
But yeah,
Say it.
seriously, the ARP funds speak specific to this, because part of the designation for those funds is small business development and recovery. And that would fit this to a T.
And one of the things that some of us as small businesses are realizing it, that the impact of this is not conventional, it's not what you expected, and it's very delayed.
Yeah.
And I won't go into graphic detail because nobody wants to hear my side story.
No, but you're right, it's
But
like something we've never seen.
Yeah.
It really is. All right, well, very good. Incentives for landlords to sell rentals. I don't know if we've uncovered any other, we've not received any more insight.
I can't really come up with anything on the seller side, other than the fact that we're an opportunity zone. If they would take the capital gains off any sales and invest them in this zone, they could get taxed for all,
Okay.
maybe even taxed relief, but
My only problem with that opportunity zone is it's a great catchphrase, but I've not heard one business take advantage of it. Because I've said it myself, but honestly, I don't really know what it means.
Right. Well, we had to have a, what was that, Tim? I mean, it was like a 90-page or whatever it was presentation on it, and good grief, I think it was almost so lengthy just so you wouldn't understand by the end of it.
I think, but I'm not sure if it's one that you're gonna hear about. There may be some businesses that have taken advantage of it, but you don't know about it.
Right.
Because it's not, unless they divulge it, it's not really something that we're gonna hear about. And in terms of this, the incentives, one of the things that we keep in mind with this is any buyer incentives that we come up with are by proxy an incentive for the seller. Because anything we do to make, so if we do things.
If we just did closing costs.
If we do things that benefit the buyer, then that benefits the seller too, because it makes their property more attractive to buy at that point. If you have something, whether it's a tax abatement or whatever it is that benefits the buyer, then it just makes the seller either can maybe get a little bit more money out of it, or sell it when they weren't able to normally. Sell a property that they haven't been able to get interest in.
Which we don't have the ability to offer tax abatement for a buyer of a home, a pre-existing home, correct?
yeah, we can.
We can on a pre-existing home? I thought it was
You
on a
have
new
to-
build.
You have to you have to establish it as an ERA, economic recovery. Yeah, so I mean, there's paperwork to do for it, but it can be done.
So, and we could have language specific to a conversion from a rental to a,
I would assume so.
I've got a question that you guys may or may not know offhand. How many rentals are actually in Union City registered and non-registered? Like, not multifamily, just like regular rentals? Are we talking like 80 out of the 1,200? Like 180? 250?
It's probably getting closer to that.
Okay.
The other thing about, and this is not exactly what you guys are talking about, but I'm going to be pushing to be a lot more strict with the sellers of these properties that are pushing off buying as is and not doing the lateral and the clean outs and all that stuff and pushing that off on these new
I thought it was
homeowners.
required.
Well, here's the 411. These guys are buying these properties and they're taking advantage of these new potential families, home buyers that are buying these things on land contract, and they're pushing all of these costs that the city has required off onto these new property owners, and then these new property owners don't understand what they're getting into because a lot of them are young families, they don't know the ways of the world, and all of a sudden they're faced with a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 repair bill before they even get their first mortgage payment. And that is just absolutely wrong. Right. Rob and I had a situation last week, and we were fortunate to change this seller's mind, but every single time I do that, I'm going to make sure I will be in court and I will make sure that that seller pays the maximum fine for every single day he's in violation of our ordinance. Because that's just wrong. These people are trying to make a good decision and get started on the right foot, and we got these jackholes that are just taking advantage of them, and it's just wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good.
okay, so do we want to explore then further the possibility of a tax abatement for a purchase from a rental to a homeownership?
Monty, is there any way to actually look up how many rentals are in town? Registered,
I
non-registered?
can get you that.
Yeah, and we've got a
I just
registration
don't have it
list
off
for
the
that.
top of my head.
Well, I know the registration list isn't accurate. I know multiple that have not registered on that. So I'm wondering if there's any way we can pull like GIS data of who says they're living in that house versus where the mail goes to.
We can get, it's nothing's going to be 100%, but it's going to be
Close.
probably 85 to 90% accurate.
Okay.
So how is that list then that you're saying is 85 to 95%?
Because we cross-reference it with the water bills and everything.
And
We
the
look
property
at it
records.
7 or 8 different ways.
So why, on the flip side of what you're talking about, like the paid registration that is supposed to be required by ordinance, why aren't we enforcing that more, I guess?
Because we have to find that they're rented. Okay, so when we do enforce it, when we find a rental property, like this just happened within the last 2 weeks, okay? We had a property owner, he owned 3 or 4 properties in town. They were all currently rented to occupants, and he got caught. He got caught for another reason, but he got caught. It put our ordinance officer and Kobe on his property asking very direct questions. Is this a rental property? Is it registered? No, sir. So he ended up paying hundreds of dollars in fines and pled guilty. 2 of the properties two of the 4, he said, well, I sold them on land contract. Is it registered with the courthouse? No. Here's your citation. So when we find them, we do cite them and put them in court and charge them fines.
Because we know we have a rental registration program, we have a rental inspection program, and I think when you and I, Nathan and I, had met with Kobe back in was it December of this year?
December, January.
Yeah, he had mentioned that I think they had 2 inspections at that point in the entire year.
Well,
And
keep in mind, the landlords, you guys create the law, so to speak, okay? They find every single way possible to circumvent what you created.
Absolutely.
So the way they circumvent, because of what you created, probably ought to shut the camera off because I'm going to tell them how to do it. What you
I know what he's
create,
gonna say.
as long as they don't change the water bill, they don't ever have to register it.
Yeah,
But
my
if
point
they
is
put
the
the water
process
bill-
is broken, if that's the
Correct,
case.
that is exactly right. So and that's what this guy did. When we found out that he had done it, then he got all the citations.
Yeah.
But we have to have just cause to find out what
We
to
have a hard
do.
time finding those. And you have and it's, one of the things that you're gonna have is you're gonna have some people that honestly have the situation where they're not, where it doesn't apply. Say if you buy a house for your son or daughter to live in and provide them a place to live for some circumstance, you're technically not renting them the house, then it doesn't necessarily apply.
And we've had that.
And we've had that kind of thing, and we have, there's sometimes you have someone that has a.
Was that part of the actual ordinance though?
But it doesn't include that, but there's.
Because I mean, it's still a
There's
rental
reasons
property.
that you might come up with that would appear to be, that's not a homesteaded property, for example, but it's in a different name, but it's not necessarily a rental. So there's lots of circumstances, but there are ways to circumvent it, and it's very difficult to find those.
One report that we
have-
print is, there's several people in town, some of you guys may be some of them, that own more than one property. Well, we can take those addresses, well, we know where this guy lives, and what about this property? Is it registered or is it not? Well, we had some occurrences that we were tracking down, and somebody else was living in it, but it happened to be the gentleman who owned the property. It was his son, and he wasn't paying any rent. That's not a rental property.
Yeah.
So that, we track every one of those down and cross-reference everything we can. We have not been doing a tremendous amount of inspections. A lot of people are trying to circumvent that process. We are still getting some. The thing that all these property owners aren't understanding is that when you put a third set of eyes on this property, you're actually protecting the property owner as well, because you've got an independent review of what the property was before the tenant moved in. So if there is damage, our good property owners want us in there, and we go do those inspections all the time because they want us in there.
That was one of the things that when we worked hard on that ordinance, that really to make it appealing for the property owner. And
The guy that got caught, he's just a bad property owner. He's terrible. He'll do anything he can do to beat the system. And those guys we have to work hard to find and catch.
Jen, is it $2 or $3 to register a rental?
It's five.
5.
Oh, it's $5. Okay.
Yeah, it's bad, it's high.
Oh yeah, it's not $50. And if it is an investment property, $5 is actually a tax write-off, in my understanding of tax law. So
Yeah,
It's insignificant.
just let's do the right thing.
well, if you own a number of properties and you spend if you own 10 properties and it costs you $50, then
Well, and if you make any.
I mean, the true cost though is getting an inspection and
Yeah.
having to fix some things.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what they're circumventing.
Well,
Now they're getting around the
let's,
water.
let's go ahead and see about, well, first of all, let's get back to, we put this to bed. Are you guys in favor of exploring a tax abatement for conversion from rental to home ownership?
I am in favor to explore, I'm not set on what.
Okay, and that's fine.
I feel the same way.
Okay, and that's fair,
I just,
because we don't have any details.
I just threw that out as just something that popped in my head in the
Right,
first
yeah,
place.
that's
So
fine.
anything that we can use as an incentive
We'll
that's
see.
reasonable, I
We'll
think
see
we're
the
open to all
feasibility
ideas.
and try to present an example to you guys in the next meeting, and you guys say yay or nay.
We could throw all kinds of random ideas. Closing costs paid for, because a lot of these people selling their house for $60,000, but then they have to jack it up to $64,000 because they didn't have the closing costs. So essentially, you're putting money back in
Right.
the seller's pocket, or a free water bill for 3 months, or, I mean, there's all kinds of options we can get crazy on. It's just, what are we willing to do?
And well put. So we'll at least we'll address the tax abatement in the next meeting, and then you guys be thinking about the other incentives that might be feasible to throw into the mix.
Not to get the cart too ahead of the horse, but we might want to think about then what we write into that as far as conditions such as that the lateral inspection is done.
Yes,
And
yeah, that's
so
natural.
Oh,
that's-
yeah.
That all, that needs to be thrown into this wording so
Yeah.
that it's clear that.
All
nobody-
bets are off if you don't do these.
We're not
things.
gonna, we're
Yeah.
not gonna incentivize if all these things aren't done as they should be.
Right,
Like land contract does not count.
Yep, amen. Well put.
yeah.
Alrighty, last but not least, to echo Nate's comments, pool opening. is-
Sorry, Jan, I missed that earlier.
No, you're good, you're good. But you know, that's important to note because we've got a neighboring county who is even stated publicly that it might be a day-by-day announcement as to whether they're open or not because of needing help. And we're fortunate, we have, was it 7 lifeguards?
18.
Eight.
Oh, wow.
Well, 16, 2 quit.
Holy smokes. Okay, I didn't realize that many. I'm just thinking the ones that went through training.
That's what he
so.
told me today.
Okay, excellent. So we're very fortunate, very blessed, because not every county or entity, civic entity is looking at that. So, any visitors wishing to address the council at this time? If so, please stand, state your name and address and nature of your business.
One more thing. My name's Donna Tedder, I live at 361 West Pearl Street. C.N. Bells was here last week, and she spoke to each and everybody in this room. I attended that seminar with Bob Gentry, and we seen just me, him, and there were 3 educational people there. This is for everybody. There's so much money in Randolph County that we could personally use. They truly, I would like to send 2 invites of Monty Poland and Tito Farias to attend the next meeting, which will be on June 10th from 9:30 to 12. They provide breaks and food and candy, but they sincerely need you because the biggest problem in our whole county is government funding and how do we go after these grants and how do you use the language and, well, I happen to know we have a pro here. With Tito, this is everything about you. So write it down if you can come. CN would just pick your brain, and I know that there's 7 different categories that they're going to address for Randolph County. Unfortunately, quality of life for our elderly is the lowest of 21%. That's what kind of quality Randolph County gives our elderly. Everyone that I look here happens to be in that category. So if we don't start getting to these seminars and trying to figure out how to use our revenue and how to entwine everybody, because there might be somebody that has an ideal, you might be a concrete layer and you might be able to be a still setter, but you guys can't come together because you're working on this project and you're working on that project. But if you have me, him, Mr. Gentry, we might find somebody that could help you, and we could save a lot of money and do a lot more projects for our community to keep our elderly happy. And we also want to keep our young people in our towns.
Absolutely.
So,
Very well put.
somebody please come
June 10th.
June 10th, 9:30 to 12:30, and like I said, you don't have to be anybody but a community member.
Excellent. Very good. Anyone else? If not, I want to wish everybody a happy Memorial Day weekend coming up and safe travels or whatever you tend to do with family or loved ones. And the next council meeting will be Monday, June 14th at 6 p.m. And the next Board of Works meeting will be also June 14th at 1 p.m. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
Pause.
Yes.
How will we potentially be getting information out about the 19th if it's only 4 days before? Because typically we only announce the rail tower stuff at council meetings.
It would be announced in every broadcast forum from here to Maine if we've got official confirmation of the 19th.
Because we want big turnout.
Yeah, no,
And we
absolutely.
don't want
You
to
and me both,
advertise
brother.
and then
Yeah,
no, we have
absolutely.
to cancel last minute and everybody stand on the streets.
No, and
After
really,
Wednesday's meeting, we should have a real.
After this Wednesday's meeting? Perfect, okay.
Yeah.
We'll know
Cool.
before the first.
so, because we really,
At
we
11 o'clock.
can't, we can't go into June without knowing definitively that the 19th works. Otherwise, we need to go ahead and reset a
Yeah.
date, so.
Cool.
Fair question. All right, now I will hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
We have first, we have second.
I'll second.
First and second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.